Hi everyone, Jordan Salfity here, lead guitarist of Aeonic Impulse, and today we're going to do a rig rundown. So we're going to start here with the amp. This is a Marshall MG Series 100 HDFX to a Marshall cab. And what I love about this series is just the simplicity of it. A lot of Marshalls will have like a bunch of channels and different options. This is just a nice setup. Everything is easily looked at and everything is easily adjustable because I like to improvise a lot when it comes to settings and live settings. So I have the clean channel set to a tone that matches nicely to the distortion pedals that I use. And the overdrive channel I have set to what I could call my classic rock tone, or my Opethy tone. And then for the effects, and I keep the reverb low because when I switch to my distortion, I could get a nice heavy crunch without a lot of muddiness. And I use reverb through my pedals. And the effects is set to delay, so the delay is one of those instances where I'll use delay instead of reverb. So I keep the delay kind of close together so that the notes kind of just create a natural reverb as opposed to being too delay-like. So from there, and every cable you'll see is a monster cable of one form or another. I've got old monster cables, new monster cables, so on and so forth. And then I've got the Marshall, the Marshall pedal to do the distortion and delay. So then we go to my pedals and start off with the distortion pedal. I've got the Line 6 Uber Metal, and I am a huge Line 6 Tone Core series fan. It's my ultimate goal to try and collect them all. But this was probably the very first pedal I ever got. And that was back in high school when I was really into metalcore and I wanted a nice pedal that could give me a heavy sound. And this has really been my reliance on getting really heavy tones ever since. It can be really muddy, it can be really like, I know some guys use this and they'll send the scoop way up and it can be like black metal and death metal. I try and give it a little bit of bass heavy tone to it so it still has some nice muddiness if I ever want to go southern metal or stuff like that. That goes into the classic Crybaby Dunlap wah pedal. I mean, I don't have to say much about this pedal that hasn't already been said. Everyone knows the Dunlap wah. I do eventually maybe want to get another wah pedal down the line to kind of give me some variation in tone, but for now this thing has lasted me 10 years and these are two of the most solid pedals that I know. That goes into the Digitech Multi-Chorus. Now this is a new addition to my setup. I used to use a different pedal for chorus, and the pedal I used was the Digitech Whammy. Now everyone knows the Whammy for its octave ability and getting that kind of Tom Morello or Herman Lee kind of tone. But what I didn't like about this pedal, and I've run into the problem, that this Whammy in particular needs to be recalibrated a lot, and the tone and the sound would go off. So I stopped using it for its whammy capabilities and started using it for its detune function. Now the detune function on Shallow gave it a really nice chorus effect that I used for many, many years. And recently decided to try and get just another chorus pedal instead for two reasons. A, because the whammy pedal is such a big pedal, it was taking up space on my pedal board, and B, because it was sucking the power and making my volume output very low. So I went with the Digitech Chorus instead. I still wanted the Digitech Chorus sound because it's such a classic chorus sound to me and reminds me of some great guitarists, like Prince comes to mind. And that's been paying off. it has much more of a boost. The multi-chorus effect can go up to the point of making it sound like 16 guitars playing at the same time, and has a really nice depth to it. And I keep it at this kind of tone with the speed very low. I don't want it to waver too much, but in times when we're jamming and I'm trying to get a more psychedelic tone, you can crank the speed and it'll kind of have like a tremolo effect. That goes into my Echo Park pedal, which again, I don't really use delay too much for the delay idea. I kind of use delay to create bigger reverby sounds. So I have it on the slap effect, which hits notes very quickly, and I kind of have the repeat on very high, so it hits notes like that. That tone together with the chorus is my essential clean tone. I just have always loved the beauty of how the notes can just ring out and have such a warmth to it, and you'll hear that a lot on Aeonic songs. In terms of influences, I was always influenced by the guys who had big tones, David Gilmour and Eric Johnson, and so this is kind of me trying to harken to that, the warmth that those guys were able to emit. That goes into the Ernie Ball VP Junior, the volume pedal, the smaller version. I didn't find it necessary to get the full version. I mean, the Junior does the same thing and it takes up much less room, so that is what I use for swells and for finishing up songs, and really works well with these two. That clean tone just becomes incredibly beautiful, almost like keyboards. And that's kind of more of my role in Aeonic Impulse, is kind of filling up the empty space and occasionally going to heavier tones. That's what I've been using for Aeonic Impulse for the duration, and that's kind of my live setup. But I have two pedals that I haven't started incorporating yet, but I really am going to, so this is kind of a glimpse into the future. I do have, as I said, I'm a huge fan of the ToneCore series. I do have the Line 6 tap tremolo and Verbzilla, so these are some things I'm trying to incorporate into the tone and give me a wider array of sounds. So that's something that'll happen in the future. So this is all plugged into my, I like to call it the no-caster, as a little joke, but this is actually a Squier Stratocaster. A lot of people think it's a Fender, and I like to tell people it's a Fender, but this is actually a Squier Strat that you got from one of those $100 startup kits, which contain the amp, and the picks, and the cables, and strap, and all that stuff. And as much crap as people give these guitars, this one has lasted me. It's been through everything with me, and it still has such a great tone. It's still able to go from like heavy and bluesy and jazzy and all of the above. And as you can see, the name has been taken off, which is why I like to call it the no-caster. But yeah, this is a Squier Strat. Not much has been done to it. Not much has been changed. I mean, I've changed out the bridge and got like a new whammy bar and stuff like that. But honestly, it's pretty much what it was when I took it out of the box. The strings, I'm not really that picky when it comes to strings. I like to try different brands. But the ones that seem to work out for me the most, only because they seem to last the longest, is over here. And you can see I have a big pack of them because I go through strings like crazy. Ernie Ball. These are, I don't know, even though you've probably seen them a million times. The regular Slinky. I like bigger strings, so I tend to lean to 10s and 11s, just because I press down harder and it just responds better for me. So the regular Slinkies, I think right now I actually have DRs on it maybe, but this seems to be my go-to. after I go back and forth between trying out new ones. As for picks, I have a lot of picks and like to keep myself guessing and try new things and new styles, but again, my go-to seems to be the Eric Johnson Jazz 3. Actually, this is just a regular Jazz 3, but I tend to go back and forth between the Jazz 3s, the Dunlap nylon black Jazz 3s, and the Eric Johnson signature, which is right here. And Eric Johnson one has a little bit of grip to it. These ones just have, this one has kind of grip from the lettering, but and then this one is a little bit smoother. But Jazz 3s, I like the smaller picks. They feel better in my hand. I tend to clench a little bit harder, so it's not cutting into the hand as much. It just is a lot smoother. I tend to mess around with Dunlap sharp picks, which are have a like a normal pick, but then it kind of cuts in more, so it has a sharper point. And these ones are good for training your hand to stay away from the guitar when you're going fast, so it keeps you from rubbing against the strings and creating a lot of excess noise. So these are good for training you, and that's what I did before I went into the studio on the album. I trained with this one, and then on the album, the day of, I went to a Jazz 3 pick, and it helped me keep my hand up for a cleaner, smoother feel. So those are the ones that I go for. In terms of tuners, I go with the Snark tuner clip-on. I used to have one of those ones that you would plug into, and it just didn't work out. You know, it just takes time away, and it's so inconvenient. These are so easy, and because I don't tend to move around that much on stage, they're able to stay on for the whole set, and it's so easy to, and it just picks up the vibration, so Snark's the way to go for me. I know a lot of people prefer pedals, but I just never saw the point in spending that much for a tuner and having it take away space on your pedal board, when in reality I think this does the same job, if not maybe a little bit better. But that's that. Slides, I use occasionally in some songs, not too often, but I love the warm tone of a glass slide. And I have two different sizes here, one that goes on my pinky, one that goes on my ring finger, depending on what song I like to have it on a different finger. But especially with the clean tones that I have, creates a really beautiful effect with the slide. And that's my inner David Gilmour and Steven Wilson and how I like my slide tones to sound. So that's that. And I think that pretty much covers it. And then as for straps, I don't really have a preference of straps. I can go with any straps. I just have this nice lightning bolt strap because I love Ride the Lightning by Metallica, so there's that. But oh, and then I used to have every single pedal with its own individual one spot, which you can and I used to have them all plugged into a power strip, and that was my live setup. Once I got rid of the Digitep, there wasn't as much power draining going on, so I didn't need to put one in every pedal anymore. And now I actually go with the daisy chain route, which I used to complain about, but that was because of that pedal draining so much power. The daisy chain wouldn't cut through and some pedals would be left out. Now, with these 4 pedals, it's nice and even, the power is very good, and I'm able to daisy chain that. So my live setup is very simple now. I plug the amp into the wall and I plug the daisy chain into the wall. Just 2 instead of like 5 or 6 like I used to be using. And what's great about this pedal board and the Velcro and everything could just stay, and the wires can just be all ready. So when I go to a show, I just gotta connect that and it's all done. So very easy setup compared to what I used to have. I'm glad that I've learned over the years and keep making it better. But yeah, it's not too complex, it's pretty simple, and And in terms of a lot of things like strings and picks, like, I'm not one to say that things are better or worse. It's just a matter of personal preference, and this is what works for me. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm Jordan Salfity, and we'll see you soon.